problem at all.
Thank you, sir. So I'll turn
Great.
it over.
Well, thank you very much, Jenny, and thank you everyone for having me this evening. I want to talk about our SWERVE event, which is coming up in September. And because it's different, it takes a little bit of time to sort of go through the context of it. But before I do that, I thought I'd give a brief reminder of the Nuclear Innovation Institute and just what it is and what it was set up to do. Because we're an independent not-for-profit. It was Bruce Power's idea to set this up, but we are not a part of Bruce Power. We're an independent organization with our own governance, and we're sort of accountable to all of the members who have capitalized this this organization going forward. So just so you know, it's an important distinction that is not always made, but we're not a subsidiary of Bruce Power or a department of Bruce Power. We're an independent organization, and we're not for profit as well. So, and the organization there were basically two driving themes behind what the organization was supposed to do. One of them was to help the industry make itself more sort of fit to compete, just how to bring in new processes or new technologies to help the industry get in good shape so that it operates with all the best health and safety practices, and it can use technology to enhance enhance nuclear generation, and all of that sort of happens with our company. So it's not the part that's seen that much by the public. The other element that was crucial to the organization and is a really important part of the mandate, and it's the visible part of NII more than anything, is to have an impact on the community, a positive impact on the community. To think of NII as a place where people can come together and work together to solve some of the problems we face, whether that's in energy issues, whether that's on the educational side, whether there are community initiatives that need to be addressed. So think of us as a platform or a place where you can come together, we can facilitate that, and we express that through our programs. And so some of that you may have seen us through NII Explore, which is our educational initiative that has been going into schools and helping the teachers and students cope with the fact that coding is now a curriculum requirement in the province of Ontario, but also just helping them with some of the fundamental elements of their science curriculum. We've been working right in the schools. It's not an after-school activity. It's very much working with the boards, with the classes to get into the schools. And we've reached over 10,000 students in this region already with one or more of our courses. So that's been a very sort of successful initiative, but again, underscores the desire of NII to have a real positive impact on people, to really deliver something of value. And we have other programs that look at how to generate economic development, sustainable economic development in the region. We look at sort of new opportunities in clean energy technologies, whether that beyond nuclear, whether that's in hydrogen or energy storage, those kinds of areas. And we're also working with the Municipal Innovation Council that you may have heard about, that's now an NII program as well, where the municipalities and the county government have come together to try to solve some local issues. And for example, one example of that is the Smart Beach program that's running down in Kincardine, which is where we're trying to use technology to address the fact that too many people are getting swept away by rip currents and either dying or having to be rescued. So those are some of the initiatives we have. Part of that mandate then is to help people of all ages come to grips with some of the big challenges we're asking them to deal with as we talk about a clean energy transition. People are throwing around all kinds of examples of sort of new ways for electricity to be produced or for our economy to run. There are mandates coming down for electric vehicles. We're getting hammered and hit with a whole lot of things that no one's had to actually think about for a long period of time. Because for a long time, electricity was really just something you flicked the switch on the wall and it came on without real thought about sort of how that came to be. So we're really, without advocating for one way or another, we're trying to help people deal with some of the science behind that, some of the choices that have to be made. These are very, very complex, potentially expensive, politically fraught kinds of issues. And I think we're trying to be as inclusive as possible, just help everyone come to grips with some of these challenges. So the SWERVE event that I wanted to talk to you about tonight is a real expression of that mandate. We want to help people recognize the role that technology has always played in the human story. For thousands of years in this region, people have been innovating and using technology to try to improve their lives. That's something that continues all the time. And the technology itself is agnostic. It's not necessarily good or bad, it's how it's used. So what we want to do is give people an experience where they can see how technology has changed our lives, how it shapes our lives, where it may be going, and hopefully provoke some thinking for people into how we might use these technologies as a force for good. So probably the best way to think of SWERVE is to think of what it's not. And it's not a trade show. It's not another one of those events where you go and there's booths all around with corporate logos and people pushing pamphlets at you and telling you why you need to buy their toaster. Although those events are good too. But this is really designed to be an experience. And we've partnered with a Southampton company or a company called, it's a global marketing company called SDI Marketing, but run by, where the CEO is a Southampton resident, Roy Rutger, who some of you may know. And Roy's company is helping manage the venue. We're aiming to give people a chance to see and touch some of the technologies that are coming along and that are changing the way we live and work. So for example, we're going to hold it in the Southampton Arena and adjacent curling club over 3 days in early September, from the 9th to the 11th. And the idea is that you'll be able to come into the arena and it'll be curtained, it'll have a different look. You'll see holograms in there. You'll move into onto the arena floor. The county museum has been incredibly helpful. They're building a story about how innovation has always happened in this region, how it's something that's native to our area. We're going to have lots of robotics both for kids and for adults to see and play. Spot Robotics dog, which you may have seen, the Boston Dynamics dog. But we're also going to try to look at how robotics is changing the way we farm, how robotics and automation is changing the way we manufacture things. And we're trying to, you should be able to move through this floor in a sort of a unrestricted flow way to see displays and installations that help you understand what a medical isotope is, what a pump storage project looks like. We think we have innovative how hydrogen is made. We think we have very innovative and accessible ways to understand these things. There'll be an area for kids, a kids zone, where they can work with a laser cutter and code their own insects to cut. They'll have cobots there as well. And we'll have a lot of virtual reality, which allows you to put on those goggles. I don't know how many of you have done that. It's quite an extraordinary thing. I used to live in Los Angeles and I've been around virtual reality for about 10 years. And in the beginning, frankly, all it did was make me sick to my stomach because it was very discombobulating. But now, the technology has really progressed to the point where it's quite staggering. It really, you put on these goggles and it suspends the rational part of your brain that tells you you're not really at heights, you're on the ground, but you really do believe you're at heights. So there'll be some of them just sort of wow entertainment experiences, some of them a little more practical. And then on the outside of around the arena and the curling club, we're going to have an electric vehicle car show, which plug and drive will come up and allow people to test drive electric vehicles if they want. We're hoping to have some more sort of significant pieces, an electric motorcycle. There's a high performance electric boat that we're hoping to have. All of this by way of sort of giving people a taste of what's to come, and frankly, what's arriving already in our lives. So you should leave this venue, this SWERVE experience, having sort of been able to finally see some of these technologies, touch them, maybe have a little bit of a better understanding, have some fun, have a better understanding of the way energy is generated and distributed in some ways. Maybe win a prize, watch some kids play esports over on the side, and generally be able to leave the Southampton Arena and leave the Coliseum and Curling Club having felt like you've been in a different place for a short period of time. So that's it. And my only I just wanted to let you know about it, because we would be grateful for the most simple support, A, which is to come out and see it, B, which is to bring your friends and family, and C, just to tell others. I mean, we really do want to do something different. SWERVE will be NII's event brand. We hope to be able to take satellite versions of this on the road, whether they're focused on one technology or different elements. But we're quite excited by it. And this is the first one. COVID's obviously been an impediment to being able to do something like this. We're hoping that we'll be able to do it in September in a way that's safe and accessible. And again, just to remind, it fits with what the mandate of NII is, which is to deliver value to the community, to be to be a community partner and to bring people together inside. So that's about it. I'm happy to take any questions. I don't know if that was clear or if I made something feel very muddy and opaque, but
I think it was quite clear. I'm really excited about it. When you said though that virtual reality used to make you sick, I'm one of those people who has to leave the big theater, you know, what they call that, IMAX? Yeah.
oh yes, yeah.
I was at one, this is probably 30 years ago in Minnesota, and I lasted 4.5 minutes, and I got up and went to the door, and the guy says, "Oh, you're not allowed to go up." I said, "I'm going to throw up on your feet. Let me open the door for you." So I'm probably going to be an interesting candidate for this.
No, I mean, we always have to remind ourselves that these technologies are, when they're first introduced, you're right to be skeptical about how they can change the world. The internet in the beginning was very slow. You probably remember dial-up, calling up to AOL. It's also, and VR in the beginning did have that problem, and still does for some people, because of the slight delay, the slight latency in the signal. But as the technology develops, that gets better and feels more real, which is why people can talk, and you can believe it or not, but they talk about a metaverse where you can you can sort of operate as an avatar in this 3D world. We're not going that far. Don't anybody think by any stretch that we're saying that we're trying to champion a technology or celebrate a technology. We're just acknowledging that technological change has been something that is part of the human experience. It's always happened, and it's going. And it's really up to us to determine what the uses are of it. So you can use virtual reality to go to the International Space Station, which you will be able to do at SWERVE. Or go to a Cirque du Soleil show and be right in the middle of it, which you'll be able to do at SWERVE. But you can also use virtual reality to practice surgery, brain surgery, where you're not actually going to kill anybody if you make a mistake. Or you can practice arc welding, or you can practice how to work at heights. So some very practical applications as well.
Mary, did you kind of come up here and ask your question, please?
Mr. Wallace, I hope this doesn't sound like a stupid question, but are you looking into maglev technology like they are in China?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear that.
The maglev technology as they are in China, there's a female scientist in China who invented a maglev car.
Oh,
Maglev, like they had a Disney World, the electrical.
Oh, the maglev train that goes between Shanghai
Yeah.
Airport. No, that's really interesting though. That's very interesting. It's not part of it now, although, I mean, we're open to everything. This is, we sort of went out looking and asking for as much as we could get. We've had a hard time in some sectors. The agricultural sector has been harder to get. There's some good companies doing some things, but we haven't done as well as we'd hoped on that. So we're a month away, and we're still a little bit in flux. So I'd look at that technology as well to see. Mostly what we're hoping to be able to do, though, is to use technologies that people can see and touch up close. So I'm very much hoping to have from an Owen sound company, actually, a battery that goes into some electric mining vehicles that they make. So obviously the battery is bigger than car batteries, but the size of a picnic table. But if we can open that up, then you can see it. So we'll have a lot of screens. We'll be a limited amount of paper and writing, because we don't want that. But I'm sort of the early default was to try to get technologies that you could touch and feel.
Is there anybody on the screen there that wants to ask a question?
I had a question in the chat.
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, in chat? Sorry, let me look. I have to put on my glasses.
That's the technology we need right there.
Exactly. So the Friday we're going to start the event will run Friday from 10 a.m. to into the evening on Friday. We're hoping to have a robotics show, hoping to bring up some robotics competitors from University of Guelph, and then have some local robotics teams as well. So the Friday will be the one long day. It'll go 10 a.m. into the evening, and it's a bit of a soft lunch during the day. We're going to try to bring some school groups in. We've had some interest already from GC Houston, for example, are going to come over, quite obviously. And then the Saturday day will be 10 to 6. It'll be shorter, but it'll be the more heavy emphasis on the EVs. We're hoping for good weather so that people will be able to drive those electric vehicles if they want to test drive a car to see how it handles. And the Sunday will be a shorter day. It'll be 10 to 3. Because we have to get out so they can put the ice in to play hockey by.
Yeah, Tony, did you want to get up?
Unfortunately, but my wife and I are going to be away that week, so we're really upset that we're going to miss it. So firstly, are you going to record it in any way so people who miss it can see it or understand it? But secondly, probably in a more practical point of view, is there any practical help the Rotary Club can do? You did say promote it. We can all do that for you. We're very happy to do that, I'm sure. But do you need volunteers on the weekend, or do you get any other assistance on the run-up, or anything practical that we may be able to help you with? Can't promise, but we may.
No, that would be great. Let me think on the volunteer side, that could be very helpful. I need to coordinate this with Roy, whose team is managing the venue, to see how many people they're bringing and what that would entail. But yes, let us get back through Jenny on how that might work. If someone was willing to come and spend 2 or 3 hours there, that would be great. An opportunity to see the event as well, but perhaps to help us out at the same time. I just need to know if, I'm not trying to deflect that. I just need to know from Roy how much he plans to handle with the part that we're paying him for, and then what's left, and also to make sure that these are interesting. We will have food trucks outside, and we're hoping to create a bit of a festival atmosphere for this. So without taking up all of, we don't want to take up the space that would be used for parking and for local businesses as well. We're trying to make friends and not enemies.
I think this is particularly exciting, having been one of those people that was on the bleeding edge of a lot of this stuff, because when I worked for computer studies at Sheridan College for a while, so there were 3 databases. There was Threaded News, and there was HighTailNet, which was library databases that you could access, and there was one other one. So that was it. So that was before pictures on the internet, So
Goodness,
I'm finding this really, really quite fascinating, and I'm dying to come.
Yeah. Listservs, you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, the question is, are you going to film or record anything that you're doing there?
Absolutely. We'll do a lot of that. So we're very focused on trying to help to communicate with people in non sort of corporate ways. So again, by being on people's side and helping everyone understand concepts or just being available to them. So we've got a very good marketing and communications team that is very good at visualizing what presenting in visual form the things that we do. So videotaping this and putting that together is obviously crucial to it, because then in the future, if you say what is SWERVE, we can just show it to you visually in a very short, punchy video. You don't have to listen to me talk about it. So
all this old technology. So, but it sounds really exciting. I'm always interested, because everybody's talking about getting their EV and everything else, and I'm saying, I don't think that the infrastructure is there at the moment to allow a lot of people to get cars and plug them in at the same time, like running your washing machine at night,
No, that's very true, and that's why it's a monumental thing we're being asked to go through, and for good reasons, but it's not as simple as sort of trying to take too much sugar out of your diet or something. This is the way we live. We've built a whole society and globally on the basis of of lighting things on fire and watching them burn and delivering energy to us. And so when you try to change that, it's not as simple as just flipping a switch and going over. And it's very challenging. Sorry. I could see hands up here. I don't know if you can on your screen.
I just see 3 people. There's Kath, so maybe we could ask Kath to be the next person, and then Bob, I see that you're looking too. So Kath, and then Bob, please.
So I've always been intrigued by the Nuclear Institute, knowing nothing about what you do. So this is interesting.
Oh, good.
The name, I think, is doesn't really say what you do, given what you said tonight. I don't think, right? Because it just doesn't. So will there be something at this event that will sort of highlight more what your organization does? So that's the first part. The second part is I find myself going back and forth between being super excited and super nervous about technology that replaces human interaction, right? And I think I'm wrong. I think I'm probably wrong to be nervous, but at the same time, it's, I just give you a lot of credit for doing this, because I think there's probably a lot of people like me that are sort of like, no, like the metaverse makes me very nervous when I read about the metaverse. It makes me very nervous, just sociologically. So that's just more a comment, right? So I'm going to go and I'm going to learn.
Right.
But will you be talking more about what your actual organization does? Because I'm not sure that a lot of people are that familiar with what your organization does.
No, I think more and more, you're right. We almost emphasize the innovation part of the name more than the nuclear part of the name. We still do a lot of things in, I mean, we consider nuclear to be part of a clean energy. It's a carbon, emissions free. The part that I don't come out of the nuclear industry. My background is as a journalist, as someone who's interested in public policy. And I come to it strictly as a way because I think of the, the importance of decarbonizing. And I see this as one tool among many to do so. So it's not because I've grown up in the nuclear industry and come at it this way. I believe nuclear is an important tool for doing that, for addressing this monumental problem. But that's why perhaps some of what we do seems broader than that. But also don't forget that nuclear connects into a lot of these other things. One of the projects that we're running right now is a connection where we've taken some money from the Bruce Power side, full props to them, but connected them with a group called ALICE, which is an umbrella organization for farmers, to get them to put some of their low yield, low production or low productive land to use as a carbon sink, and to see how do you measure that carbon, how do you quantify that, and then how can the farmers monetize that for other organizations that might need to buy carbon credits. So that again connects the nuclear industry with the agricultural industry. The solution to all these challenges we face is going to involve everybody. It's not as if we can kind of exclude sectors and say, and nor can we vilify anybody. It's going to take everything. So the large part, I think that's why you see this kind of stuff as well. I think just to your point, I think you're right to be cautious about this. We're certainly not saying, technology at any cost. It's not. There's a lot of, and I think there's lots of emerging evidence that it's technology, and some of this is intuitively obvious anyway, but technology plus humans gets you your best results. You don't want only an algorithm looking at your chest X-ray. You want an algorithm helping a doctor look at your chest X-ray. But I think you're right to be always on guard. And so this is not techno optimism or
But I find it fascinating. I love it. I have to kind of stop myself and make sure I stay a little bit objective, because I would just jump in full board because I just love it all. But at the same time, I'm thinking, just a little bit of objectivity helps too, right? Fascinating stuff, though. I'm glad you guys are doing it.
Thank you.
So maybe, Bob, we could ask you to ask your question now, please.
Just a very simple question. You're calling this SWERVE, the event. Does that word have some meaning?
It does, because as we travel along our not so always linear path towards the future, sometimes we have to make sudden changes and sudden shifts, and then try to get back on track. And yes, it was chosen very much as sort of, it's a conscious act of making a change, because you don't. It's not about losing control. It's about making a swerve to get around obstacles and to find ways to overcome them. So it was chosen. That's a good question. Very good question. Yeah, it was chosen intentionally.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything they want to ask? Suzanne, we can't see you, so if you have a question, you're going to have to speak up. Okay.
Great.
I'd like to thank you, Bruce, for taking the time out to spend with us this evening. And there's some really interesting things going on. It sounds like we will all benefit from attending. And then again, as Tony suggested, if you need some help and we're able to pull some things together for you, please let us know.
Well, it's very generous of you. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. And the last thing I'll say before signing off is that NII is also, it's a community space. We don't want the building, which is the old police station in Port Elgin, to be a black box where nobody knows what goes on in there, because there's nothing mysterious going on in there at all. There's just good people coming together to try to solve problems, whether they're community problems or anything else. And if it would ever help for you guys, if you wanted to hold a meeting there, it's open to you to do so. We opened our doors as a vaccination clinic on, I don't know, probably a dozen occasions, and we've had hospital foundation meetings there, and it's open to you as well. There's no charge for that. It's
That's terrific. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Rob, we probably would like to do that.
okay.
Thanks so much, and we'll let you sign off.
Thank you. Great. Good night.
Good night.
Right, speak.
Yes, excellent.
I know, I'm like, darn it.
So we'll go back to our agenda. We did our toast welcome thought of the day. We had Bruce. Tony, do you want to just reference the minutes? I think you've already sent those all out in the bulletin.
On the agenda, you see that the minutes of the 13th, they were sent out, and the week after, and
Do you want to use this?
they were referenced in Jenny's note. They were sent out in the bulletin. If anybody's any questions or queries, just raise them now.
And Dave's playing with this wheel again. Okay, sorry. Now we've got the team. Oh,
Whoops.
oops, there we go.
All right.
So maybe you can speak up if you have, anybody have any questions? There being none. Do we need to move the adoption of the minutes or not really? Yes, maybe we do. It's not terribly formal.
If you'd like to.
We'd like to move the adoption of the minutes. Mary,
Mary.
and seconder. Alex, thank you. Any questions? There being none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you so much. Bob, did you have any health and welfare you wanted to inform us of? There's been a few emails back and forth.
I had a chat with Keith Nixon, a former Southampton Rotary president, now living in Kempville, and he's well, and we had a good conversation, and was